right, then. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Zay and Chris here. We have another episode of the report card here for you. We had this little Hulu gem that we discovered, and we felt like it'd be nice to tell you guys about it. It's got a lot of themes and messages to it. And to be honest with you, it's been on my mind for the last few days. So I've been wanting to talk about this movie. It is called Cat Person. Chris did find this movie, so let's go ahead and get into it. It's like a dating film, but it is essentially the worst case scenario that can happen for two people who are dating and they do not know how to communicate properly. Definitely has a lot of modern themes here. I think we enjoyed it, but let's get into the story. First, it stars Emilia Jones and Nicholas Braun. Emilia Jones she plays Margot. She's working at a movie theater. She's a college student. And one night Nicholas ends up playing Robert. He's like one of her customers. He comes in quite frequently to pretty much, as we learn later, pretty much to watch like the same type of movie. But the first time that they end up interacting, she's trying to talk to him and kind of be interested, but he's quick to be like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna get my food and move on. Margot ends up going back to her dorm after that first day, and she runs into a dog outside of her dorm. And that dog pretty much is like the catalyst for all this, because it's like a stray dog. She thinks of it as a stray dog that's just outside of her dorm. It begins to rain.
Definitely a foreshadow for the
Definitely a foreshadowing, yeah. Essentially, she's like, oh, I feel bad. Let me bring it inside. She tries to bring the dog inside. Her RA stops her, and she ends up having this weird nightmare of the dog eating the RA's head. That's kind of like what sets things into motion for these two. Clearly, they're interested in each other, but it takes a moment to build up liking each other, or even having a stronger interest in each other than we think. So definitely seems like it's even by this point. But as we learn on the second time when Robert comes to the theater, what happens is Margot goes into the theater, and this is where we really started to like how the movie was not just shot, but how it did transitions, because it shows Margot like sitting right next to Robert in the theater. But then we find out that's what she's thinking in her head. She's fantasizing about that. And so I just want to take a second. Chris, you tell me, how do you think the film depicted Margot's fantasies? This is very much of a woman's perspective, man's perspective type of film, but how do you think that they did that in terms of her like fantasizing, or her just like thinking outside of her head?
To me, it just showed a lot of times of how us girls will think so far into the future when we're with someone, or like when you're interested in someone. So it's like you always go to, like, she had all the way to therapy, they were married, and then like obviously his jobs, which we'll get into, but she just thinks so far ahead. And some girls truly are like that, like just thinking like, okay, like what is this about? It's like that mystery. That's why I think a lot of girls like mystery, because it's like, oh, I can think of it then. Like I can think of I have to think of different things for the mystery to actually, unfold. Whereas like, if you're kind of straight cut and corn, like you're straight, cookie cutter in front of me, then it's not as exciting. So this is like exciting to her, because it's like, oh, it's an older man, he's coming to the movies on his own, I don't see him with any other girls, so let me start fantasizing about like, maybe things that I should do or want to do, but I'm too scared to do. So I like how it shows that, because it shows it in so many different scenes. Even in one scene, we said the same thing at the same time.
It was shown very early with her just wanting to sit next to him in the actual theater. What did happen though is when Nicholas did get out of the theater, he did ask her for her number, like, hey, concession stand girl, like,
why
give me your number. Why don't you give me your number, And so by this point we were like, okay, he's just a normal dude, clearly he's risen her up, like he feels like she was feeling him, he's feeling her, so he's able to get her number. But it definitely is like, okay, we're getting a little bit more serious in terms of how things are depicted, because Taylor is introduced. That's Margot's friend. Taylor runs kind of like a feminist Reddit group, kind of like podcast. So essentially, if you picture someone who is chronically online and speaking about feminist topics, she's going to be like the typecast. So that's kind of like how they wrote her in the movie. I think she did a good job. I would say that she definitely played her role to a T. Like that's exactly what she was. So she gives her the other perspective of what some women could think about, not think about, but worry about when just meeting a man. She's doing what a lot of women do, which is you're fantasizing about it. But Taylor is like her other conscience, almost, of like, be careful, he's an older man, he could attack you, you need to have something to protect yourself, do you know where he is, do you even know his last name? very common, normal questions. But Margot, because she's so, new to this, it's like this new
She's
little...
infatuated.
Yeah, she's just like, I don't really need to know all that kind of stuff. So keep that in mind as the story goes along. So they end up texting. They end up finally getting to, essentially they're texting. Taylor tells Margot, you shouldn't be double texting. So the double texting stuff gets to the point to where Margot actually invites Robert to her school where she works on, old historical bones. And then also there's like a giant ant farm like inside the actual like laboratory that she works in. And she has a special relationship with her professor. So she's like allowed here after hours. So she invites him over on a whim, very random, dangerous, might I say, because you don't know this person. But he brings her favorite snacks that they were talking about over, text. And he seems pretty harmless. Chris, tell me what happens when they do go on this, not date, but when they meet for the first time.
Whenever they meet outside of the movie for the first time, and it's not necessarily like a date, but it is kind of like a meetup. You don't know what's really gonna happen. He brings her a
it's like the interview almost.
And so basically when they're there, so she's like really excited. She is kind of geeking out a little bit. She's showing him the artifacts, and then honestly, this is when it was kind of like, is he a serial killer? Is he not? Because that's the synopsis of it. That's what grabbed us. Because it's like, is this man a serial killer? What's he doing?
You don't know.
And so basically they go into this back room, and like, well, really they don't. He goes in the back room. She's eating her red vines or whatever, and then she's like, hey, Robert, she's calling his name out, and then he's literally just like, he doesn't answer her. So she goes back there, of course, and like he's just kind of looking at the different like bones and like the artifacts and stuff, and then once again she gets back there and she kind of geeks out. She sees where he is, and then whenever they're in there, so she has her back turned toward the door, but he's still like, he is kind of moving a little strange. I don't know if he was trying to be funny or what it was. I still don't understand that. I don't know if he was trying to be...
definitely failed.
Yeah, because I don't know if he was trying to be funny or what, but the door ends up closing whenever she's like talking about the artifacts, and so that's whenever kind of, I don't think necessarily Taylor rang in her head, but she did start thinking, I'm in a bad position right now. No one knows where, oh wait, Taylor did know.
Taylor did
know where she was
and
at.
And she was texting her before this, but she did put the phone down and she left it before she went in the room.
She doesn't have her phone. I don't know where Nicholas Nicholas Braun, but Robert in the movie. Yeah. I don't know where his was either, but she like freaks, like, because like as a woman, you're already thinking the worst. You're like, I'm stuck in this room with this man who's gonna find me. Are they gonna find me dead? You think of all like the most horrifying, probably like horrible outcomes.
I think it was depicted very well in that.
Yeah, and
it turned
showed
to
like
a horror movie.
Yeah, her freaking out, the red lights, him looking bigger and stronger than her, obviously, like as he already is. And so she had to, and then so there was a time where he touched her because he was trying to get to the door. He goes, hey, let me try, maybe I'll be able to get the door open. And she freaks out, and then you can kind of tell, like right then and there, she was so embarrassed because right away she was just like, I didn't freak out like that because of you, know, which she did say later on when they were walking back as well too, but she was just scared. And then whenever he finally opens the door, and then she's kind of just like stuck, because she's like, I feel like whenever she was standing there and kind of in shock, I think she kind of realized, like, I just embarrassed myself. This man didn't do anything to me. I'm thinking the worst of this man, and why am I thinking that? So she she freezes in time, literally. The ants are biting her. They have all these ant bites on her, really. I think I don't think
he got it. He just moved,
but she kind of was definitely frozen in time. And then of course the professor comes in, goes like, what was going on? This is gonna be damn. Just,
and you killed the ant queen, which essentially is like, they tried to set this president. Yeah, you ruin the colony. The ant queen's taken care of by all the male.
No, I actually think the queen actually survived, didn't she?
No, the queen died because she held it in front of him. The queen died beforehand. The doctor, or Dr. Enid and Margot, they'd be talking about the queen of the ant colony, how she has the men kind of work and serve and follow her.
And he knew a little bit about it
exactly.
too.
And then Robert kind of knew that too. It's kind of setting up this tone.
Like, if you guys actually ask him, he could probably tell you a lot more, but you guys aren't looking at him in that way. You're looking at him as just a man. Just a man. And then another thing we wanted to point out that Chris said wonderfully was, she was geeking out when she was in there. Like, she was at her most, dare I say, that's when Margot looked the most like, oh, that's Margot. Like, because she likes doing this, but he wasn't as interested in it. He just like,
he was like, oh, okay, cool, this is some bones. He didn't really say anything. So we took that into consideration first time
I do say
it,
also that Robert was very nice, because I had said, I was like,
yeah, he's chill.
I was like, I'm pretty sure that anyone would leave. I'm sorry, you just destroyed school property. You're probably ready to get out.
You
you're
book
like,
it out of there.
Yeah,
bro.
you book it out of there. You run out. You know, hey, she'll have to deal with that. I don't know what to do. Like, it's literally like, but he ended up staying there, sitting with her and like her professor. It was to me, it was very nice, because I was like, I don't know any person that would actually end up doing that.
I think
when
it was
you're
very,
young
very nice.
and you're in college, or obviously he's older than her, and we'll find out his age. But it's like, I was just like, wow, that's really nice of him to stay. I'm surprised. I was like literally thinking to myself, like, why is he still here? But it was very nice of him to stay.
But yeah, after that happened, you would definitely, they wanted to, she felt so embarrassed that she was like, I hope he didn't think this was our first date. Let's try it again. And then they want to, of course, they would want to try it again. However, she has to go on break first. And so in between this time, this is when they grow the closest, because they're only texting. So when they start texting, and you know, if you've ever been in a relationship, just texting someone instead of seeing them that much, you know, you build up a image of what they look like when they say these things, how they sound. They get so close to the point to where Margot ends up sending a picture of herself that was a little bit more promiscuous. Her family gets involved a little bit, because her family's kind of bugging her, like, who you texting, you know, and then she says, oh, I'm texting this boy Rob, or this man Robert, and then she ends up telling Robert, yeah, my family's, you know, talking all about you. So she's already told them that. Then she wants to send him this promiscuous picture. She ends up sending us this picture, not a nude, but just a picture of her with the
cheeks out.
With her cheeks out, yeah. And then what happens next when she sends the picture?
So after that, she kind of was ghosted. Not necessarily ghosted, but she didn't get. Ladies, we all know, like, if you, well, I don't know, because some people don't send that stuff, obviously, but some that have can relate to sending something. You want to, obviously, men and women, I'm sure you want an immediate response. Like, you want an immediate response to let me know, hey, you looked at it and you liked it. That's probably what everyone ultimately wants. But she didn't get anything. And then so after that, you know, she starts questioning herself. She's like, fuck, I'm probably like doing too much, but I think I'm a freak from like the last time. And she starts
double texting, triple texting.
And then she just ends up going, I think she ended up saying,
it was a mistake.
Yeah, or like, she goes to like, oh, my bad, or like,
didn't mean to send that, or something. Bad mistake. Bad mistake.
And so obviously we'll figure out why he was looking at it differently from that perspective too. But it was just like, yeah, to me, I was just like, girl, I feel like if you don't get it, but that is kind of embarrassing. Like, that is embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
To, like,
it is embarrassing.
Send a part of yourself, you know, you think you're getting closer, and then all of a sudden it's like.
And Robert did respond. It was just a while later, and he said he was at work. And this is when he said he was at work, it was very interesting. We noticed this, that Margot did her thing where she was picturing what he was doing, and she pictured him working all these manlier type jobs, or like traditionally what you would see as a manly type job, working as a construction worker, works knowing tools very well. She pictured him working as as a groundskeeper for a cemetery, so like he would know how to like bury her and something like that. The coach, working as a coach, because that's more of an authority position. She's picturing all these things that are easy to picture. You know, that's what a man would be working. Yeah. You know, if I pictured a man working a job, that's probably it. You know, that's what she was thinking of when she was picturing him working. We'll find out what his real job is later, but that's what she was picturing.
And neither once have they ever asked if they're their age.
Exactly. Yeah, which up until this point they hadn't.
Strange. I feel like I asked people
over the whole break.
Yeah, I feel like I asked people their age, or I at least asked them, when's your birthday?
Exactly.
Not necessarily like, how old are you, but like, when's your birthday?
That's why I'm just so surprised. But essentially he ends up he like apologizes for not being able to talk to her for that long. Like I said, he was busy. They end up setting up to actually have a date. They do have their first date. Yeah, how'd the date go, Chris? Please tell me how this date went, because
well, honestly, we have to backtrack a little bit, because she was already, once again, she was trying to be something that she was not. He likes seeing these Star Wars movies. He's very not infatuated, but he's a big fan of one of them, and he constantly sees it. And she knows she's not interested in it. She goes, because then she say, are you serious? He had asked
her, do you want to see Empire Strikes Back as the movie he picked to go on their first date, and she immediately said, are you serious? And as men, that is the biggest sign that says she's not fucking with this. She's not rocking with this. Pick something else.
But then I think he ended up, I don't remember exactly what he had said in the text.
He said something like, oh, I hope, I guess I had you pegged differently, or I guess
she ends up conforming and was just like, oh no, that's fine, like I'll go ahead and see it.
Conforming, good word. Yeah,
they're in the movie, and then literally she's not paying attention. She could care less about it. She's looking at him. No type of fantasy comes out or anything, but she starts cringing a little bit because he is kind of saying
he's
movie
mouthing the
word
words.
for
He's
word.
mouthing the lines. Yeah.
So it's like you can tell, like, oh, this guy really likes this stuff. And it's also like, to you as a girl, you have to think of yourself, or you have to think of like a little bit and be like, okay, if he really likes this is something he's really interested in. So it's like, am I willing to become interested in this, or is it kind of like, this is just so lame and not give me the ick and I'm done with it?
Exactly. Then they're going to the after they're done with the movies, they're outside the theater, and a big moment here in the film. This is really where things start to take a little bit of a turn, because he starts to think a little bit too much in his head, like, oh, he didn't like it, or just say it that she didn't like it. And I mean, she didn't. She did. Margot didn't like it, but she wouldn't say the truth. What did she do instead? She started to think of him in therapy, talking to his therapist about how he thinks he's perceived by her. Very deep level thinking, but I think the movie really captured it well, because at first when it popped up, I was like, why is it, did we cut to a different scene? But no, she's picturing him feeling insecure in front of her and having to deal with it with someone else. That's very well told. First time I've ever seen that really portrayed that way, so I really liked it. Of course, he's with this therapist saying that he feels like she's smarter than him and she's a little bit better, he's not as well versed to be able to even talk with her. And so that kind of pities her mindset to pity him. Like, I actually do like,
so
it's fine,
now he's trying to impress me. And then he had also said, like, this was like, he said, I thought that this was going to be romantic. I thought it was a romantic movie.
Because The Empire Strikes Back is his first introduction to romance in film. And so as you pretty much as any man or person, you do see romance through something else. We see everything through something else, but romance, we see it. We see a TV show, commercial, movie, something that makes us go, that's really romantic. It's how we interpret it. He interpreted that as romance, and how Harrison Ford is as an actor. He definitely does love Harrison Ford as an actor, definitely tries to take his mannerisms, live through him. But he ends up asking her for a drink if they want to go out and get drinks. She says, hey, let's go to Sonny's. He's like, no,
that's some on-campus little kid shit.
Exactly. And that's a good response by him, and he saved himself there, because he's like, oh, let me take you to a spot I know. And at this point, I'm thinking, okay, great, recover yourself.
Still don't know each other's age.
Exactly. So, yes. But boy, oh boy, do they find out each other's age at the next part. Because...
And that's another, not a red flag or anything, but it's one of those things where she could have easily came clean. Oh, where are we going? I'm not 21, right?
Yeah.
Like, she could easily
still
say
kept
that.
it inside.
Or I've been like, oh, I kind of only go to Sonny's because they give me drinks there, because they know me there. Anything you can say, you can say it, because then ultimately what ends up happening is they go to this bar and he goes right in. He goes, hey, I know this guy. We don't have to wait in line.
Kind of a flex.
He goes in, and then the guy's like, oh, that's fine. Like, she goes, oh, I'm with him. And he goes, oh, it is okay, but like, I still need to see your ID, like, I still need to see
that. He said, that's
that.
cute. I still need to see that ID though.
Then she literally gives it to him, and then he's just like, yeah, no. And then she already knows, like, you need to fucking go, like, you're too young. And then he's in there already, like, which to me was like not weird or anything, but it's just probably something he didn't know. But I'm just like, I would think, like, I would want the girl to walk in front of me to get in, and then I would come in shortly after, even though I do know, like, the person at the front. I wouldn't just run into the club. I'm like,
my nigga left her. He left her.
Or even like friends, like, I don't just run, like, if it's me and my friends, or like just me and one other homegirl, I do it like that because there's only two of them. I'm not gonna run into the club, because things like this can happen where she doesn't get in, and then she's yelling from him outside, which props to the lady that was actually helpful, because she ended up opening the door whenever she was calling out Robert and stuff. Robert comes out and he goes, what's going on? And then they talk, and then she actually doesn't even say anything. They kind of just lock eyes, and then she's like walking away, and then he comes out, and which was nice, because I was like, damn, you ran in there away from her.
I really thought he was gonna not come out.
Yeah,
and then she was gonna go back home.
She was just gonna go back to the dorm, talk to Taylor, and then like maybe we're gonna get into a serial killer. But that could have taken a different turn. But what happened instead? But ultimately he comes out, and then they're talking, and she's crying, and she's just, and then he's like, how old are you? Like, I don't need, like, how old are you? Which to me, it's like, okay, like, you're already a little too late and stuff, but
yeah, you're cooked by that point.
But honestly, you haven't done anything.
That is true. You haven't done anything.
To be honest, like, you haven't made yourself look guilty in any type of way. She ends up saying, she goes, I'm 20. And then he goes, oh, what? Like, and then this is whenever, did she have another fantasy moment? No, she didn't.
No, we thought it was because of what happened in the next scene, which is he consoles her, he brings her close, he says that's okay.
And then he goes in for a kiss, and boy, was that kiss.
It was not a kiss. He was mauling her face. It was
bad. I could see it on the screen. I was like, this is a horrible kiss. Like,
think of the most awkward kiss you could think of. and then times that by 10 because you just feel so bad for the guy and the
now,
girl.
This is whenever the therapist comes back that timeline, because he's like, this is when you got the upper hand.
Bingo,
even more,
right then and there. Yeah, she did have another
like,
fantasy.
Because it's just kind of, or a
she fantasized them together. Even after being kissed badly, she fantasized them still together, and the therapist calling her out like, yeah, that's when you took the upper hand, because you know how to kiss, so you can teach him that. And I feel like in that moment she figured, oh, the things I can teach him, that feeling it gives me, she likes that. Oh, I'm teaching him something new. I'm giving him something to be grateful for. And also
it's an older man that clearly needs my young help. So it was when
makes her feel important, makes her feel wanted, even more than she probably thought she would in that moment. But he ends up taking her to they end up going to another spot.
She ends up she calls Taylor and tells her like that was a horrible fucking kiss. And then Taylor's like, okay, sorry, you're gonna come home, get a lift, you're drunk.
Taylor says, all right then, that's that. All right then, that's it. Call it a night.
Margot and Robert had a couple drinks now, so it's like, Taylor's like, okay, this is good. Like, okay, come on,
get an
home.
Uber, get a lift.
Margot,
she does not listen. She does the complete opposite. It's just like watching. It's just like any teenager doing something rebellious to the right thing that needs to be told. But it's not like she felt like she was in danger at the moment. That is one thing about Robert. Up until this point, she's felt like she's been in danger just because he's a man. It's not like he's done anything that's really made her feel. He hasn't like hit her or like pushed her or like yelled. He hasn't done any of that. So like it's all in her head, what she's been thinking.
But her curiosity leads her to believe, okay, he might be bad at kissing, but maybe he's great at sex.
Exactly.
And it's just like,
the delusional. He brings her to his house. So, and then when they walk in, she's like, wow, I've never dated a guy that's had a house before. So, and then she sees the picture of Harrison Ford from the Empire Strikes Back frame. Then, like, my God,
and
dude.
And the mask and all those.
The Darth Vader mask.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So you can definitely tell he's a, which, like I said, there's no judging for that.
It's not like he had a whole shrine. It was just a shelf in his house.
But it's just like add on top of that, her head's already going a million miles an hour. Like, oh, he's got a house.
He can't kiss. I don't really like his stuff. But then that's whenever, it sucks because the thing is, when Taylor told you to turn around, that was your time to turn around and be like, oh, I'll see you tomorrow or something.
You can call the night, still been a fine date.
Yeah, exactly. It still would have been just fine. You could have still had that imagination. You still could have taken it slow. See, does he like anything else besides these Star Wars? Like, is there anything else? But instead, she decides to go ahead, and now you kind of have trapped yourself. You're stuck in this man's house with just him. Yep. No one else is there. He doesn't have roommates and stuff. This isn't a college dorm. And it's like you've put yourself in this predicament to where it's like you could have already gotten out of it.
Yeah, multiple times.
Yeah, it's
which leads to probably one of the stronger moments of the film. This is the true turning point of the film, is when they do end up sleeping together. All of the fantasies, all of the things she was thinking it was gonna be, it's not. And it's worse than she imagined. First of all, the man's got like an unfinished McDonald's bottle, like a McDonald's cup on his dresser. It's not like his room looks like it's put together. He's got the stars, guys, you know what I'm talking about, those stars that you put in the science class or in a nursery. He's got those on the ceiling. They end up talking about sex, getting into it. And then he's like, oh, have you done this before? Yeah. She ends up laughing.
She laughs. And I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible. Because it's like...
That was hurtful.
But he didn't give a fuck.
Because he was booked up. He's about to get some.
And then so during these scenes, the reason why we say we like it so much is because there's another version of her who's telling her the truth. Like, it's her truth that's like talking to her.
Cold
and
hard
she's
truth.
and she's just sitting there and kind of like just going along with it. And the reason why I had brought up the whole you got yourself in this situation a little bit is because your true self says, go ahead and leave right now. Her actual self is saying like, no, it's okay. Like, I'm gonna have to deal with this because ultimately, like, I'm in this man's house. Anything can happen to me. I can end up being dead. I don't know how he'll accept.
But also the feeling she likes, which is, I like that he feels like grateful for this.
Yeah,
that's strong. But like she's battling herself. I think that scene was so strong because her other version was asking all the right questions any person has. Why are we here? Why do we like this? Why can't we tell him no? Just tell him you don't want to do this. Yeah. And it's as straightforward as it can be. But for the first time, I think this movie really showed it well as, this is why. Can't you see? She can't just tell him because she could be in way more danger.
Yeah.
You know, she already feels like she's in danger now. That's the crazy thing, is even when she's about to have pleasure with this man, she's not thinking of that. She's thinking, I want to get out of this, and she's already put herself in danger just because he's a man. Once again, he hasn't done anything he hasn't yelled at her, he hasn't thrown her on the bed, he hasn't told her we're gonna do this or else. He's literally been very nice and chill, but her mind and how society has been with these situations, I think that scene was encapsulated very, very well. We also find out his age.
Yeah, so after they finish,
he finishes.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
I just meant finish the scene. You can tell, like, he knows, like, intimacy is super big for him because maybe he doesn't get it that often. And so now you can see he's kind of, he's like on her. He's trying to cuddle her. I got to make you breakfast in the morning because she's trying to leave. She is trying to leave.
He's like, oh, I got this locked down now. She's mine now because of what we've done.
We've just done. Like, she likes me. She sends me photos. She's showing me
it
all
worked.
the signs of interest.
He's probably thinking, like, it worked. The Empire Strikes Back worked.
Yeah, because now she wants to sleep with me. We've had drinks, you know, like, we've been texting for a while now. Like, he's thinking, like, I want you to be my girl.
Because
like,
he's been told nothing by her up until this point.
Nothing but the everything but the truth.
I was about to say, what you mean nothing but the truth? Nah, but that ends. She does get back home safely, which is good to see. Like I said, that was the turning point, because from that point on, she could not address it. And this is why I gotta ask you, Chris, why couldn't Margot just text him that night, hey, didn't enjoy this, didn't like this? It's so easy. You're home now. You're out of the danger. So why do you think she couldn't just text him and say, I'm done with this, I'm over? Because she was struggling with it.
It could also be, like, sometimes as women, we don't want to hurt people's feelings either. We don't know how you're going to react after. Because even though people, like, you can say, oh, we're out of danger now. We're not in the immediate danger, but we still are in danger. This man still knows where I go to school. Yep. He knows where my dorm is. I know where he lives, yes. He's still stronger and bigger than me. He also knows where my classroom/workplace is. Oh, actually, no, he knows exactly where my class and my work.
Pretty much where you go.
He knows my whole pretty much schedule. We text all the time. He has proof of us both being interested. You know, like, it is still scary.
Plenty of proof.
So it's not an immediate danger. It's just still the fact of, like, just being in danger. And I also, like I said, she doesn't want to hurt his feelings. And just like how she had wanted to just sleep with him. Oh, he'll be grateful for this because, like, she looks at him as a loser.
Oh, and he's got a picture of her too. Can't forget that. Yeah, but Taylor ends up taking a stronger point throughout this point in the film, because she has to tell her now, like,
let it go. Like,
let it go.
Don't, like, because to me it is, I always do feel like it is better. Now, of course, there's always going to be pros and cons of ghosting, and some people hate ghosting and think you're the worst person ever. Some people are like, that's just easier for me. You need to end it, solidify it, call it what it is. You don't fuck with this man. You don't like him. You don't like kissing. Like, you don't like being with this man.
You've tried everything
you need
until
to
this point.
Yeah, you need to let him go. Like, just say it. And so Taylor ends up taking her phone away because she still is, like, trying to figure out how
struggling. It's been days. She just can't figure out the proper words. She's out here with typing paragraphs, then deleting them, not knowing how to hurt him, not hurt him. Taylor, shout out to Taylor, takes the phone, runs into the bathroom, and texts him, hey, I'm not interested in you. Stop texting.
Please don't text me anymore.
Please don't text me anymore.
Yeah. And I said that's like the perfect example of being blunt, honest, but you're not being a bitch. I feel like you're literally telling him, hey, but that does suck, because I know in, like, society, it's like we expect that from a man because we just had sex, he got what he wanted, he doesn't fuck with you no more. But it's like, for roles reverse, he actually really likes her, and then she's just like, oh yeah, I don't really like you anymore.
So it hurts.
Yeah, because he's thinking, like, we got intimate now. Like, this, he probably thinking, like, this is a huge
complete
step,
180. From his perspective, it's a complete 180, which does become the consequence later, because obviously Margot and Taylor, they end up going out to Beth, the friend who's played by Liza Koshy. She has a nice little chill role in here. I like how she doesn't take too much of the scene. She's just a nice, like, friend. You know, she has them over for a birthday party. Taylor's sitting there with Margot, and Margot notices Robert at the bar at Sonny's at
Oh,
Sunny's.
Sunny's.
And so he's just there, and this is where she's already like, oh God, he sees me, like I need some help getting out of here. Her friends all get up and kind of cover her on the way out of there, but it does
stupid.
not work, because later on that night, she heads back to the dorm, and he's like, yeah, I saw you, and
well, remember, he ends up going like, I just want to know, like, he goes, I know you don't want me to text you anymore, but I just want to know, like, what was it?
He wants that closure. He wants an answer.
He does.
Is he deserved one? Is he like guaranteed one? No. At the end of the day, you did sleep together. You did, but it's not like you're married and you have kids and all this stuff. You just.
I have no obligation.
It was
Either
one
way,
date.
you guys don't have any obligation.
It was a one night. It was one date and a one night stand. That's literally what had happened. You're not owed anything after that, but emotionally, because what had been built up, and we'll get to that later.
Probably because Sunny's is where they usually drink and stuff anyway, so I'm pretty sure he probably had a couple drinks, and then after those messages, he keeps going, ends up saying like, oh, like I saw you with your friends tonight.
Oh, the spiraling. He just spirals.
Started
down.
calling her. This is what we kind of expect all the time. It's like, oh, I saw you with that other guy.
That other guy he's referring to is her ex-boyfriend, and during the break, she did go home. So at her dad's birthday party, her ex-boyfriend or her stepdad, her ex-boyfriend came over, and her ex-boyfriend told her that he is actually asexual now,
so
and it had nothing to do with her. It was just him discovering his sexuality. But that's the guy,
which I feel like probably made her more insecure, because it's like, oh, like, damn, you had sex with me, you had sex with a guy, you still don't find me probably sexually appealing.
Even though he told her to her face, you could be the most beautiful woman in the world, and it wouldn't have changed anything. And then he was like, what you are, he's trying to make, but it doesn't, it's, once you told her that, that she can't change her mindset.
Yeah.
All she thinks is, we had sex, and damn, it really isn't. It was so bad that you don't want it at all with anybody.
Yeah.
Even though that's not the truth. But that's who he was alluding to. Like I said, Robert spiraled down even more, to the point to where he was saying all that stuff, and then he ends up calling her a whore. And that's the first time that he was, yeah, you're an asshole. Yeah, you're doing something wrong. You're a piece of shit. Now, you acting like a murderer? No, you're not acting like some killer. But here's an alibi,
This is why, because like I said, I do know that people are not, they do not like blocking and stuff, but this is why I say blocking can sometimes help a lot of peace, because you could have sent that message, you didn't give him closure, right? You didn't get closure, but you did say, hey, I'm not interested in you anymore, please stop texting me.
What had happened next was that now that she had seen those messages, Margot and Taylor had seen them together, they need to get something to protect herself with, because now she's
like
actually worried.
Now
she's
they're kind of thinking, is he dangerous?
Exactly. So they do end up going to get her some pepper spray and like
oh, well, that is after. So this is a scene that they showed too. This is when once again we're thinking, is he a serial killer? Because when she's at work, he is. It looks like as though he's looking into the movie theater. She's taking out the trash, but it looks as though he's looking into the movie theater at her. We do not know if he ever was. We do not know if he was looking at showtimes.
He was just standing outside his car.
He was standing outside his car, but it did look like he was staring at her.
He did look creepy. It did look creepy.
And then when the door closes, you get in your car and you leave.
Taylor and Margot do grab the protective things that they need for herself, and then this is where the movie really,
which is pretty much everything but a gun.
Pretty much everything but a gun. But this is like a nice little pocket scene that I think they did well, because up until this point, Taylor's character is a background character, but they give her enough lines and purpose to where throughout the movie you notice it's kind of annoying how much like
anti-man.
Exactly.
A lot.
It's to the point to where you're like, okay, you need to go touch grass, because when they were at Beth's birthday dinner, she was ragging on the boys at the birthday dinner because they were friends with
James, or no, it's her co-moderator on her
exactly
on her thing, but she didn't know, and she goes, I think it's a dude, like I just know it's a dude, and she was right.
Exactly.
And she was absolutely right,
but she didn't like the fact just because he's a guy. So throughout the movie, it's planting those little seeds until when two of the friends, they pop in getting ready to distract them, let's go to a party, let's go to a nice little party. Remember, they're in college, even though all this stuff is happening, they're still in college. And then they kind of insinuate like, okay, put on these costumes, let's go to this costume party. Taylor ends up blowing a gasket. She's like, how come you two males come bursting in, intruding in on her space in this? And Margot's like, they didn't really do it like that. They just relax, like pipe down, relax.
These are our friends. These aren't random dudes.
Exactly. Yeah. But you're looking at them just as males who are walking in, invading in on your space, which correct, that is your dorm room, but they just wanted to go to a party, you know. Could they have knocked? Yes, but it's not like they were coming in to beat you up or anything. It does lead to one of my more favorite scenes that has nothing to do with Robert at all. This is just Taylor and Margot kind of going at it. Margot pretty much tells her, you know, it would be easier to be a friend if you weren't like this so much, you know. And Taylor kind of hits her back and tells her, like, you know, look where you'd be kind of without me, you know, like you were doing all this on your own. Look where it's gotten you. You know, like, don't act like I wasn't here to help you. And Margot kind of keeps pushing her back, like, but you're online all the time, so all you view is men like this, and isn't there something kind of out there that's different than that? So I do like that they had that back and forth.
But Taylor
scene.
also tells her, "Bro, look at your position now. We're
Bingo.
literally we're getting weapons."
So they both
together
gagged
for a
each other.
man.
They
Yeah.
both had really good points in that. Like, that's one of those where you walk away and you're like, okay, 50-50. Y'all both swung some good hits.
You're too online and you think every man's out to get me, but then look at you, girl. You think this
Yeah,
man's
not
out
everyone's
to get
out
you.
to get you, exactly.
Yeah.
And then you look at what you did. If you would have listened to me, you wouldn't have this man out to literally get you. So that kind of separates them.
Yeah.
Yep. And when they were picking up devices to protect her, they picked up a tracking device. And after that fight, Taylor leaves, and Margot just stupidly goes to Robert's place
by herself in the middle of the night.
Late at night.
I literally had said when we were watching it, I said, but why couldn't this wait till the morning?
That's honestly the most teenager stuck in your head thing she did the whole movie.
I guess she's my thing, like, let me do it now because to be honest, guys, through the whole movie, she's not like we know anything about his occupation. We only know really his age and his name.
That's it.
And where he lives. But
and The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, we don't know really anything about. We know he's a movie buff too, but it's like we don't really know much about him. So it's like I would understand this scene a little bit more if she knew what his occupation was and she knew when he worked, because then it's like I need to get him at night because he works during the day, or I need to get him in the day because he works at night, you know, something along those lines. But she goes, oh, I just need to do it now. So she's rushing. She goes in there, and then so she goes, this scene was so funny to me because I was like, this looks so goofy. Like, you're really goofy. But she goes in and then she's trying to put the tracking device. She's quiet for the most part, even though I think she was going a little bit too slow. Because I'm like, girl, you're in and out. You need to go in and out.
Yeah, this is the start of the third act.
You don't know if anyone else can see you, and that would make you look insane. So
she already looks insane.
Yeah, so then she ends up going, she's trying to put the tracking device on his car. So plot twist, this is when we see the dog that we saw at the beginning.
Yeah, that Rottweiler in the beginning with the dream and everything.
Yeah, he comes back, and then he's barking. So obviously that alerts Robert, and then so Robert, here he comes, it was such a natural response. Hey, get out of here. Who's here? He can't, even though we can see everything. So we're like, what the fuck? But it's like, clearly he's like, there's something rummaging around in my garage. My dog's barking, you know? And then so now she is like ultimately freaked out. She's just like, oh my God, have you been following me? Have you been stalking me? Like, and he goes, what are you doing here? Like, what is this? What's going on? They're both kind of, she's thinking, oh my God, has this man been following me and stalking me? Because how did he know about this? Or why is this dog here? And then he's thinking, why the fuck is this woman in my garage right now? Like, what is going on?
So once again, we're even 50-50. They both
like,
have
I thought you didn't want me to talk to you no more. Now you're in my house. Like,
Isn't that funny?
I'm so confused.
Isn't that funny? You just told me I want to talk. You don't want me to talk to you no more, but you're invading my space?
Yeah.
Huh?
So
Leave.
Yeah. So then this is once again very goofy. Basically pepper spraying herself because he turns it around on her because I don't know what she was aiming at. He turns it around on her and then she ends up hitting her head. So this is when
and some cinder blocks in the garage.
Yeah, ends up falling, and then he has to put her in his house. Obviously,
she wakes up from consciousness in his chair and
head bleeding, looking crazy.
And
eyes
boy, oh boy, this third act, like I told you, it really started when she went over his house, but this is where the movie really said, okay, you thought it was gonna be this, it's really this. Yeah. It's really a great depiction of if you just would have communicated, you would not have been in this position, because I know all the men by this point, they're thinking, yo, this man's fucked. This is a younger woman bleeding in my house, and her face looks like she's been maced, and we've already slept together, we've talked, we've texted, it looks bad, it looks like we had a fight. And that's exactly what he says. And she's trying to
get out.
Margot's just trying to leave.
She's just thinking she's in danger still. You know, she's she's still just like in that fight or flight mode. Like, I need to get out of here. I'm gonna be stuck
Even though
here,
you put yourself in the fight, showing up at his house.
Especially because Robert's trying to tell her, you can't leave here. We need to think of something, because
and that sounds threatening when he says
exactly. And then plus this is whenever he was pushing her back, because she was like, no, I just need to go, and then
he
pushing
physically,
her back.
that's the first time he looked aggressive.
He actually like pushed her back and was like, no. And so this is ultimately what I loved whenever he had said. So basically now they're having to face the truth from each other. At the very end, you have to tell the truth now. There's nothing else you can do.
If you don't, yeah.
You know, like we had told you guys earlier about the jobs and stuff, because it's like a longer conversation. They're basically pinpointing everything out that has happened in the movie. He goes, you know, you seem like you were interested in me, then you weren't, and then
he walks the timeline back.
And then she ends up telling him, she goes, well, and this is when I had said to him, I was like, well, that's what's crazy about it, because she did really like you. Like at one point in time, she really, really
but
did
he
like
does not
you.
believe it, because look at what had happened.
Yeah, like how it ended.
Acting.
All of a sudden, after we have sex, and then all of a sudden you're telling me like, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Please stop texting me. That sucks, because then it's like it does mess with your mind, because it's just kind of like, okay, well, did you ever fuck with me? Were you just using me for some free dates?
It was a joke.
Like, you know,
exactly.
So it does.
And he has every right to feel that way, because you're playing him. He's been played, but for her, you're in danger.
And then also she's also and you know what, I can't fault her for feeling this way, because I totally see where Robert's coming from, but I can't fault her either, because how long have you been stalking me and like, you know, being kind of predatory toward me?
Exactly, the Rottweiler.
Because that dog, I saw that weeks ago.
However, let me go ahead and he does explain that. He says, and this is a
So
you can
sweet,
take you
but
can I was about to say, hey, she said
Sweet or
it. She
creepy?
said it was sweet. I also say it was
Well,
sweet.
I said sweet or creepy, depends
Sweet
on.
or creepy, 50-50. Once again, he does say the reason why he used the Rottweiler like that to kind of get her attention was because he wanted something. He wanted a beginning of the story. He kind of wanted to manufacture it a little bit, something cute that he said that he could kind of build. Like, I thought that was going to be our story. We met and we talked over this dog or something like that.
Yeah.
He tried. And
Or
obviously,
you return my dog to me, and then that's how we meet. You know, trying to make his own type of like.
it didn't work, obviously, because that already
love
stopped
story.
her.
He was trying to make his love story.
But yeah, he was trying to create that love story. She wanted to get, you know, the mace off of her, or the pepper spray, obviously.
Yeah, she's like, give me a towel, some water.
And he's like, no, you need saline solution.
Yeah.
Immediately, we sat here and thought it. You're probably sitting here and thinking it too. Why the fuck would he know that? Has he been sprayed before? She said it.
Have you done this before to someone else?
And
like,
what the fuck is the reason why he knows that?
It's because the dude's a nurse.
What's his job?
He's a RN nurse.
Not a cemetery groundskeeper, not a construction, not a coach.
He is
a nurse.
And this is when he gagged her, because he goes, well, you would know that if you ever asked me. That's why I said, guys, we don't know anything about him. It's only the things you don't like. I feel like if she actually took the time, all these fantasies, all these delusions you had, if you had taken the time to be, because maybe she's like, oh, because that could have been maybe her third strike, and she could have not even went on the date with him, right? Like, she's like, I don't really like his job, I don't really like his movies, I don't really like, I just don't like it, you know, and you could have stopped it all right there. But it's like you just kept leading it on.
You let the fantasy lead.
Yeah, and it's kind of just like, maybe if you had found out he was a nurse, oh, he's really smart, he has his own house, you know, and she never wanted to talk about it. She just always wanted to be like, okay, well, because they kind of showed her as a man, like, oh, they're not a good kisser, but let's see how they are in bed, and then, I'm out. Like, I don't
funny
want this
because
anymore.
because often we do hear terms of leading with your other head with men. I think that this was her leading with her fantasy. She wasn't moving forward with like reality. Like, she had some rose-colored glasses on. She has to tell him, you know, I was interested into you, and and it was this, and like the things that he was so worried about, he did tell her, what, were you fucking some other guy? No, that's not it. You know, oh, was it how I was having sex? You know, all the things he was worried about. He is audibly telling her, but he's yelling it, and it's in an aggressive tone. And of course, she's scared, but you have to tell him the truth, because look what happened when you didn't. That's what ended you up here. She's trying to get up, she's trying to leave, and boy, oh boy, does this become...
They just start...
Oh boy, does it become awful. It's a scuffle, because he can't let her leave. And then also, you're probably wondering, why the hell is it even called Cat Person? He tells her that he has 2 cats, but she doesn't see them.
Yeah, and then also her friends, whenever she was at Sunny's, whenever that time they had to all hide her, whenever she was trying to leave.
At Beth's birthday
they're like,
party,
yeah, I know. Because they had even said, they're like, oh, I know him. He's the guy with the 2 cats, but we've never seen him.
We've never seen him. In the middle of the scuffle, when they're scratching each other, and she's trying to get out of his arms, but he's trying to keep her in the house so they can talk and find a agreement of what to do. She ends up opening his basement door and two cats run out.
Yeah.
Which, y'all, he's not a killer. He's never been this killer or this. We never depicted him as one. We've just perfectly sculptured the movie through her eyes to where now you're getting that reveal of he really is just that normal weird 30 something year old dude.
He's just an awkward 33-year-old
dude. That's literally how he is. They end up going into the basement, scuffling a little bit more.
Yeah,
they
heater
fall
falls
over.
on some
The heater
oil
falls
or-
over some oil. A fire starts. It blocks where they can leave, and the windows are too small and they're glued shut. But there is one open little hatch in the ground. Robert runs into it immediately, and for a split moment, Margot doesn't follow him, even though after all they've been through, life's on the line, and Robert threw it all away, even though she probably wasn't. He probably thinks to himself, she wasn't really rocking with me. Maybe she was playing me over. Maybe she was messing with my emotions. But damn it, I'm not gonna let her die. I'm not gonna sit here and let her die in this fire.
Guess what? Now I'm gonna be out of this fire and there's a dead girl next to me that's been burnt
I can't delete the messages. Her fingerprints have been around. We gotta burn the whole house.
Yeah.
Whole house gotta burn down now.
Yeah, so they end up going in. So
That's not what
basically,
happens.
ultimately, she doesn't want to go, and then literally after she's coughing and she realizes, fuck, I don't know, I can't fight fire. Then she goes, help, Robert, screaming his name, and then Robert ends up opening the hatch, and then they get in there, and then there's no bodies found. So also, during this time, they're probably wondering, like, okay, where's Taylor? Or is anyone looking for her?
Yep.
So Taylor is looking for her because she does know that he lives on like the ABC streets. I think that's what they were calling them.
Yep.
She ends up being with James, the one who's like her co-moderator that she was so like, he's a dude. He's trying to be like woke and trying to be like feminist and stuff, but he's really not. So he ends up helping her.
He's an Uber driver.
Yeah, he ends up helping her. They end up going there, and then she's like telling the cops, like, hey, there's a fire. They call the police. They just go, that's good that we haven't found any bodies. Like, that's good for you and your friend. Like, that's good for you because you don't want to find bodies, because then it's like, oh, we'll have to like give it a couple weeks. We'll tell you, the specimen.
Who it is. Clearly, it must be them. But that's. They open up the hatch. They find them knocked out, just laying together inside the little hatch. They make it out of there, and then we have a little bit of a time skip. Obviously, Robert's gone. He has moved away.
Gone.
Margot and Taylor are still they're still friends and everything. They're still
doesn't
college.
work at the hospital anymore.
Yep. And so and the movie just ends with them going their separate ways, and of course Margot and Taylor driving past the old house
or riding bicycles.
Riding bicycles past the place where his old house was, where where their story ended there. And that's pretty much the story of Cat Person. So with that being said, we'll go ahead and give you our rating of Cat Person. We are going to give Cat Person a solid A+. So we're going to give it an A+. Like I said, great themes. We do highly recommend this movie for really anybody in her age range group or a little bit older, anybody who's going through the dating scene now, just because there are, I feel like we did a really great job explaining the film, but you definitely need to watch it to see how it's been shot. I think that how they showed her transitions, how she was thinking, how he was feeling, this movie really did depict that well. The sex scene, that's probably one of the best depictions of awkwardness or uncomfortableness during a sex scene I've ever seen, but making you feel for both of the characters. That's our thoughts on Cat Person. Like we said, we gave it an A+. Make sure to tune in for our next review of our upcoming films that we have on the report card. It's been Chris and Zay here. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as always on the Zay's World channel, and we will catch you guys later. Peace out, y'all.